Stop scrolling. Because what I'm about to read to you is not the kind of message that shows up every day. This is the kind of message that usually arrives quietly, without flashing lights or breaking news banners, right before a market flips on its head. It doesn't come wrapped in panic. It comes wrapped in formality, an official notice, a subtle adjustment, a carefully worded email that most people skim past. And when you connect that message to what I saw with my own eyes today, lines at the coin counter, buyers still buying, premiums acting like they've developed their own personality, you start to realize that something much bigger is happening under the surface, something structural, something psychological, something that doesn't care whether you're ready or not. I'm John A.G., and welcome back. Today I'm going to walk you through a shift that caught a lot of people completely off guard. Not because the information wasn't there, but because most people weren't looking in the right place. In this video, I'm going to break down a quiet but meaningful change at the U.S. Mint, how they're pricing and selling certain products, and why that matters far more than most people realize. We're going to talk about what this could signal for the most popular silver coin in America, what dealers are seeing right now on the ground, and why all the spot price talk floating around online might be missing the point entirely. And before we go any further, let me say something important. I'm running an active campaign to push back against copycat channels that recycle the same clips, repeat the same surface-level talking points, and outright steal original work. If you value real breakdowns, first-hand observation, and analysis that isn't just echoing yesterday's headlines, hit subscribe right now and drop a comment, even if it's just OG John AG. That tells the algorithm, and frankly tells me, who's actually supporting original work. And if you want my daily updates, quick posts, and personal analysis that I don't always put on YouTube, I've set up a WhatsApp channel. The link is in the description. That's where I share premium notes, instant voice updates, and fast reactions when something changes quickly and doesn't wait for a polished video. Now, before we dive into the Mint's message, I need to set the scene, because context matters more than numbers. I walked into a local coin shop today, and the atmosphere hit me immediately. It didn't feel like a quiet specialty store. It felt like a concert line, shoulder to shoulder, people clutching cash, phones out, refreshing prices, conversations overlapping, everyone asking the same question, just phrased differently. Are these prices still worth it? Did we miss it? Is it too late? And that question right there is exactly why this moment matters. Because when fear is high and uncertainty is thick, the herd tends to do one of two things. They panic buy at exactly the wrong time, or they freeze completely at exactly the right time. And here's the part nobody likes to admit. The market does not care which one you choose. So I did what I always do in these situations. I didn't rush to the counter. I didn't pull out my phone. I listened. I asked simple questions. And what I heard told me far more than any headline or chart ever could. The first guy in line was retired. Calm. No flashy talk. No bravado. Not trying to impress anyone. I asked him a question I've asked dozens of times over the years. Do you want silver to dip so you can buy more? He didn't hesitate for even half a second. He said, for my nerves, I'd rather see it going up. Let's see how high it can go. That's not trader language. That's not Reddit talk. That's real-world psychology. People don't just buy metal. They buy certainty. They buy peace of mind. They buy something that helps them sleep at night. Then I asked the room a question that always exposes the truth beneath the surface. I said, who here is thrilled that silver is pushing higher? A couple of smiles, a couple of shrugs, some quiet nods. Then I flipped the question. Who here is disappointed? And suddenly hands went up. Not because they hate silver, not because they think it's over, but because they want more ounces for the same amount of money. That is demand wearing a different mask. And here's the key detail most people miss. Even the disappointed crowd wasn't leaving. Nobody stormed out. Nobody said, Forget it. I'm done. They were still in line. They were still buying. That is not how a market top behaves. At a true top, people talk big and walk out empty-handed. Today they were talking and still paying. While I was inside, I noticed something else that changed the tone completely. The weight being moved wasn't just small 1-ounce pieces. I'm talking thick bars, heavy rounds, kilo-sized silver that makes your hand instinctively tense the moment you pick it up. The kind of weight that reminds you this isn't just a number on a screen. When people are buying weight during uncertainty, that tells you something important. They're not shopping for souvenirs. They're shopping for protection. And that's when the dealer showed me something that shifted the entire conversation. An email. A real one. From the Mint. The message was carefully worded, but the implications were clear. Certain products were being repriced. Some online sales were being paused. Availability was limited. And for a period of time, the only thing that seemed consistently available was the basic bread-and-butter bullion coin that everyone recognizes. Now pause here because this is where the story gets interesting. The Mint does not send messages like that because they're bored. They don't change pricing structures or pause sales on a whim. They do it because something in the pipeline is under stress. Supply, demand, production capacity, distribution logistics, pricing assumptions, or sometimes all of it at once. So the obvious question becomes, is the Mint in trouble? And the answer I got from the dealer was brutally honest. No more than the rest of us. In other words, yes, but not in the dramatic way people online immediately jump to. Because the moment someone hears Mint issue, the internet goes straight to extremes. Bankruptcy. Shutdown. No more silver coins ever again. That's not analysis. That's entertainment. The real story is quieter and far more important. If the Mint has to pause, reprice, or restrict certain items, it means the pricing model they were using no longer matches the reality of the market they're operating in. And when that happens, they don't keep selling at a loss just to keep everyone comfortable. They adjust. Here's the first big takeaway you need to understand. Repricing itself is not the scary part. The scary part would be a full stop on the flagship bullion coin. If the day ever comes when the most common silver bullion coin simply doesn't show up, that's not a premium problem. That's a supply signal. And that's exactly what the dealer emphasized. He wasn't worried about collectible items being paused or delayed. He said the real red flag would be production issues with the standard bullion coin. Let me translate that into plain language. If a manufacturer can't keep the main product flowing, it's not because demand disappeared. It's because something upstream is breaking. This is where the spot price obsession starts to fall apart. People keep saying spot price this, spot price that, as if that single number tells the whole story. And the dealer made a point that almost nobody outside the industry talks about. The number you see on your phone is often tied to futures pricing. It is not the same thing as the real-world price of a physical ounce in your hand today, especially in a tight market. The gap between what the screen says and what the street says is where the truth lives. That's where you find out whether metal is abundant or scarce. Because scarcity doesn't always show up as a higher spot price first. Scarcity shows up as delays, rising premiums, out-of-stock notices, sudden repricing emails, longer wait times, shorter product lists. So when I hear someone say, the price is high, so demand must be dying, I can't help but laugh. Because the line in that shop told a completely different story. Demand wasn't dying. Demand was adapting. People weren't exiting the market. They were shifting, moving away from flashy items, focusing on lower premium weight, hunting value instead of walking away. And that's why this matters for you watching at home. Because if you're waiting for a perfect moment, a magical dip where everything is cheap, plentiful, and nobody wants it, you may be waiting for a market that no longer exists. One conversation in particular stayed with me. A young stacker, mid to late 20s, told me he started buying silver as a teenager. His first ounce was bought when prices were in the low teens. He laughed while telling me that he once smashed a bar with a hammer because he thought it might be fake. That's not something you make up. That's lived experience. And when I asked him how he felt about prices right now, he didn't say they were too high. He didn't say he was scared. He didn't say he was waiting. He said, not high enough. Then he went further. He said he believes silver's importance in people's minds could eventually rival or even outrank gold, not necessarily in price, but in relevance, because silver gets used, it gets consumed, it disappears into industry. Gold mostly gets stored, worn, or vaulted. Whether you agree with him or not, you cannot ignore what that mindset represents. Conviction. And conviction spreads quietly. He told me he'd convinced coworkers and friends to start stacking. One bought their first coin. Another picked up a handful of rounds. That's how waves start. Not on television. Not through viral clips. Person to person. Quietly. And that brings me to a question I want you to answer honestly in the comments. If silver dropped hard overnight, would you panic? Or would you see it as your best buying window? Your answer tells you who you really are in this market. Now let's talk about products, because this is where people accidentally burn money. A lot of stackers love historic coins, old designs, vintage pieces. I get it. There's a pull to it, a story, a connection. But when premiums go wild, the smartest buyers start asking a different question. How many ounces am I getting for my dollar? That's why in that shop, the conversation kept circling back to generics, rounds, bars, lower premium options. The dealer wasn't saying collectibles,